game time.
What does the skipper have to say?
It's an attitude, like you got to be willing to defend. You got to be willing to base run, or you can't play here.
It's the Leadoff Show on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network.
All right, here we are. See Sparky Fiver with you on a Monday evening, whatever you call it, 5 o'clock in the afternoon nowadays. We are here, and we are getting ready for game one between the Brewers and the New York Mets after the Brewers get a sweep of the Marlins over the weekend. And if we're being honest, I don't know how many people thought the Brewers were going to sweep the Marlins over the weekend. When you looked at the starting pitching matchups and so forth, knowing how the Brewers were playing before the break, I don't think anybody thought the Marlins were going to sweep them. But the starting matchups definitely favored the Marlins in this one. And the Brewers didn't exactly hit lights out against the three starters for the Marlins. That did not happen. The Marlins pitchers did their jobs as far as the starting rotation goes, but the Brewers just figured out how to put together enough runs late in games in order to get the job done. Before we talk more about what happened yesterday, we always got to do this.
Looking up, and it is gone.
It's almost time for the first pitch. Let's see who's in today's starting lineups. Brought to you by Lakeland University. Experience it your way. Visit lakeland.edu. It's the Leadoff Show on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network.
All right, time now to get to the starting lineups for the Brewers and the Mets tonight. The return of Freddy Peralta to take on the Milwaukee Brewers, with rumors swirling over the weekend thanks to Hector Gomez, who I believe at one point was with ESPN for a long time. Reporting over the weekend, it was, what was it, like 1 a.m, Saturday into Sunday. Hector Gomez saying that the Brewers, as he hears it, are the front runners to acquire Freddy Peralta at the trade deadline. Other teams are interested, like the Atlanta Braves, but as of right now, people think that it's going to be the Brewers getting back Freddy Peralta on a rental type deal to where, once the offseason hits, he hits free agency and is off to another team. We'll dive into that maybe a little bit more later on here in the leadoff shows. We have a 90-minute version for you tonight. For the New York Mets behind Freddy Peralta tonight, leading off and in right field, A.J. Ewing batting second. The soon-to-be Hall of Famer, once his career is done, Juan Soto is in left field. Hitting third and at third base, Bo Bichette. In batting cleanup and at shortstop, Francisco Lindor. Hitting fifth in the DH, Jorge Polanco. Hitting sixth and at first base, the lefty, Jared Young. Hitting seventh and in center field, Luis Robert Jr., former White Sox outfielder. Hitting eighth, a guy that everybody's waiting to actually develop into being that star that they've thought he was going to be. Brett Beatty is at second base. And batting ninth and catching, Francisco Alvarez. It's Ewing, Soto, Bichette, Lindor, Polanco, Young, Robert Jr., Beatty, and Alvarez. What did you think listening to the names in that lineup? They'd be a hell of a lot better than they are. Wouldn't you think they'd be better than their record? All right, 42 and 58. Some of those guys in the lineup, you would think they should be 58 and 42. The Brewers starting lineup behind the Miz. Jacob Misiorowski comes in at 10 and 4 with a 1.62 ERA and 167 strikeouts for the Milwaukee Brewers. Christian Yelich back in that leadoff spot like usual and DHing. Hitting second and in left field, Jackson Chourio. Hitting third and at second base, Bryce Terang. Hitting fourth and catching, William Contreras. Hitting fifth and in center field, Garrett Mitchell. Hitting sixth and at first base, Andrew Vaughn. Hitting seventh and in right field, Jake Bowers. Hitting eighth and at shortstop, Cooper Pratt. And hitting ninth and at third base, Joey Ortiz. It's Yelich, Chourio, Terang, Contreras, Mitchell, Vaughn, Bowers, Pratt, and Joey Ortiz is your lineup for the Milwaukee Brewers. Yesterday, the Brewers, they got the job done at the end of the day. It took some dramatics, but it ended the way you wanted it to.
Another 1-2 pitch. Fly ball left center. It is back. It is gone. Say goodnight, Wild Bill.
the longest dead air ever on TV, I think, right here. Crazy. Can I say something? That was the right move. That was the right move by Jeff Levering. Just shh and watch all heck break loose, right? Contreras throws his bat like 50 feet up into the air, and throws his hands up, celebrating, running around the base paths, looking out, pointing out at the dugout. Uribe's like standing on something with his hands raised up as he runs around. Then as Contreras gets home, he gets pummeled by a box of gum from Andrew Vaughn throwing it at him. Guys have like bottles of water they're spraying on him. Then you go to the post game after it's all said and done. He goes up the tunnel, disappears. TV then is stalling, waiting for him to come back out to do the interview with Sophia. And he comes out and guess what? He gets 2 buckets of liquid dumped on top of him, which again, he took. No problem. All right, I'm going to stand here. Go ahead. Dump it on me. You notice Garrett Mitchell has become that dump guy, all season long, taking the Willy Adames role for the Brewers this year. So that was all really, really cool. And it was another deal where the Brewers get a comeback victory. They are number 1 in baseball in comeback victories this year. Number 1. And as was pointed out in this series by multiple Brewers players, I believe, that's Brewers baseball, baby. We may get down, but we're not going to get down on ourselves and not fight back. Like, it's not over until the third out in the last half of inning of the game is officially done. Going to continue to battle and fight until it's done. No give up with this Brewers baseball team. And I think to a large part, that is a shining example of what the manager brings to the table when you talk about Pat Murphy, that no give up attitude at the end of the day, which is very, very cool. And it's great for the Milwaukee Brewers as well. Pat Murphy talked after the game.
Is there some kind of lesson in there about playing all 9 just based on?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, first of all, credit to our guys that we hung in and pitched the way we did, defended the way we did. And then we're in the position to do it. And then the big swing by William, you just can't make that up. You know what I mean? That's got to be a guy who knows he can. I hope he gains more and more confidence. This kid is just scratching the surface how good this kid can be. But to come in the game late, which he's a guy that catches every day. So when he gets those off days, he savors them. But I just felt like coming off the All-Star break, even though he had the rigmarole of going to the busyness of the All-Star week, I knew his legs were good, and I could put him in for 2 at-bats. So it was it was fortunate it happened that way. But credit the pitcher for Miami. I mean, this guy is really, really good. He's pitched good against us before, but he was unbelievable today. And there's like 4-pitch mix. It wasn't just 100. It was a 4-pitch mix. You look at the at-bat that Terang had in his last inning. Terang struck out, but you look at that bat, it's 11 pitches, I believe, 10 or 11 pitches. That took some gas out of him. He humped up for 101, but that might have been the key to the game to get him out of there. Who knows? But yeah, that was, you don't notice those things. And Vaughn hitting the line drive and we get doubled off there like you should on the contact play. But yeah, didn't look very good for us. And Churio comes up big there, and Terang big at bats at the end. And then, what can you say? Wild Bill. Pretty special. A lot of contributors today, a lot of contributors. Gary Sanchez getting on base twice, caught a great game. Gasser was great. Chad Patrick and Ashby Anderson. The pitching, to hold them to 1 run. That's pretty good ball club.
You kind of talked a lot before about how guys kind of back into the bullpen need to be able to keep you in games with what Chad and Grant did. Is that kind of an example?
Yeah, I think you're right. Chad's been mostly great all year, in that role, and he's really responded very well. We had some adversity out there today, and it wasn't as sharp, but got it done, and especially the second inning. And Anderson coming in facing the two lefties and getting it done versus them made a huge difference. So,
Mark, what's the communication like with William throughout the game? Does he know at the beginning of the game that he might go in?
no.
At the end?
No, he assumes that Gary's going to catch all 9, but he knows that we could use him as a pinch hit, usually not to go in and catch unless we're going to pinch run for Gary. Gary's, going to get pinch run for at the end of the game if we're losing. So he knows he might have to go in and catch. He has. It's not that fun because you're kind of like gone. That was some of the thinking of putting him in the 7th was that to hit was thinking that he's going to get 2 at bats, not just 1. He swung at ball 4 the first time up to lead off that inning, and he's tough on himself. Like I said, he can be tough on others too, and tough to relate to sometimes. But he's a fierce competitor, and I'd like to see him believe in himself a little more. To be honest with you, you guys might be surprised by that, but I'd like to see him believe in himself a little bit more.
We're going to stop it there. Can I say that the whole believe in yourself more? I didn't see that coming with Contreras. I'll be honest. I didn't. Contreras doesn't come across, I don't think, to fans. And maybe the guys that cover him every day, like McKelvey and Rosiak, Kurt Hogue, maybe they will say something different. But I mean, he doesn't come across as a guy that's lacking confidence. He doesn't come across as a guy that's going to doubt himself. Now, be hard on yourself, sure. Yeah, I mean, I think most guys that are really good can get hard on themselves, and that's what makes them really good. When you remember the stories, just talking about Giannis, let's say, of, he has a bad game. What happens? He's at the Cousins Center 2-3 in the morning working on his shot and practicing and stuff because he's mad by how the game went. So he went and worked off some of that at the Cousins Center for a couple hours in the middle of the night over at the Cousins Center. That's back when it was the Bradley Center. That was, you heard those stories all the time. So to think that, guys can't be hard on themselves, sure. I really want more in-depth explaining of the kind of being hard on himself type deal with William Contreras. The other part of that I found interesting was that maybe he can be tough to get along with from time to time. That's another, for me at least, eye-opening sentiment. Because, what was it, Friday? We were talking about, I think it was on Wisconsin Sports Daily, about captain, right? Or no, maybe it was with Tim Allen. I don't remember. About captain Christian Yelich. It was Tim Allen, I think it was. At some point, Friday or Saturday, doing a post-game show. It's like, the captain did this. Can we not call him the captain, please? I mean, when you hear the word, when you hear captain in baseball, who do you think of? Derek Jeter. I'm thinking Christian Yelich. So then, of course, people got mad at me on the talking text line. Blah, every team has a captain, Sparky. What does it matter? Okay, fine. But then I did have a couple of people that texted in and said, hey, man, Wild Bill is the guy on this team. Like, that's the dude. I didn't have any reason to not believe that. I was like, yeah, that makes sense too. I'm sure he's got say and people listen to him and so forth. And then you hear Murphy. He can be hard to get along with. He can be hard to get along with. We've been sitting here for 6 months talking about extending him. Pay the man $20 million a year or whatever the case is going to be and take care of him. And Jefferson Caro, who is your top catching prospect, I understand the organization loves him. I get it. He's at AAA. Trade him. Extend Contreras, trade Caro, and let's go. Marco Dingus is down in A-ball. So when Marco Dingus moves his way up, then you can have the conversation. And the extension, now again, I have no idea what William Contreras is going to want. But if it's a 4-year extension or 5-year extension, you still might be able to get Dingus move Contreras after 3 or 4 years and get Dingus up and start over again with a young catcher that can hit and move forward with him if that's something you want to do. But you hear Murphy talking about Contreras. I don't know, man. Like, to me, it was really, really eye-opening hearing Murphy talk that way about him after he just won the game in walk-off fashion. The hero of a Sunday afternoon game at American Family Field, where most people that were at that game yesterday will never, ever forget being at that game yesterday. I promise you, they will be talking about that game probably for a good portion of their life of watching Contreras do that. Just such a special, special deal. All right, we'll take a quick timeout. We'll come back on the other side. We need to hear from Pat Murphy before today's game because we haven't had a chance to do that either. And I like to eye up the enemy a little bit earlier, so we'll go over the lineups as well. But we'll talk about the numbers in play involving those lineups straight ahead. It is the leadoff show live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky with you. All right, time for starting lineups before we hear from the manager of the Milwaukee Brewers, Pat Murphy. He talked earlier this afternoon. Starting lineups today for the Brewers, Freddy Peralta on the hill for the New York Mets, 5-8. 4.66 ERA. 104 strikeouts for Freddy Peralta. Lineup, A.J. Ewing in right field, leading off, batting second in left field, Juan Soto. Hitting third and at third base, Bo Bichette. Hitting fourth, cleaning up, the shortstop, Francisco Lindor. Hitting fifth and at DH, Jorge Polanco. Hitting sixth and at first base, Jared Young. Hitting seventh and in center field, Luis Robert Jr. Hitting eighth and at second base, Brett Beatty. And hitting ninth, the catcher, Francisco Alvarez. Again, it's Ewing, Soto, Bichette, Lindor, Polanco, Young, Robert Jr., Beatty, and Alvarez. For your Milwaukee Brewers, Jacob Mizorowski comes in at a 10-4 record, 1.62 ERA, 167 strikeouts. Christian Yelich leads off and is in the DH spot as always, batting second, and in left field, Jackson Chourio. Hitting third is Bryce Terang, and at second base, hitting fourth, cleaning up and catching, William Contreras, the hero from yesterday. The hero really from the weekend because he had a great one. Garrett Mitchell is in center field batting fifth, batting sixth. And at first base, Andrew Vaughn hitting seventh. And in right field, Jake Bowers hitting eighth. At shortstop is Cooper Pratt. And hitting ninth, Joey Ortiz. So essentially what the Brewers did was they went left, right, all the way down the lineup until 9, 8 and 9, where you have back-to-back righties and Pratt and Ortiz. And then it starts all over again. So that is the lineup for the Milwaukee Brewers. And with that being said, let's hear from the guy that's in charge of it all.
Line drive, base hit down the left field line.
Let's see what the skipper has to say heading into today's game. Let's head to the Coach's Corner. It's the leadoff show on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network.
All right, what do we have, guys? Let's get down to this. Murph, what does it mean to have Freddy Peralta back in the house? Yeah, I really haven't followed that closely. What kind of year he's having? I know who Freddie is as a pitcher. I know who he is as a person, as a winner. I respect him an incredible amount, but I haven't followed. I watched some video today. He's very capable, and tonight he's on the other side. So it's figure out a way, to score runs.
You talked to him much. We came to him much since the trade.
Just the text. Don't
When
try
players
to.
leave in general, how often do you do that aside from when they come back?
No, I mean, I text them when they leave, or call them and tell them what my feelings are. And, if a guy's not doing well, or I think a guy's struggling, I'll reach out. But no, I mean, not that often. I mean, it's like if you run into somebody that knows them well, you might FaceTime them and say, "Hey, look who I got here," or something like that. No, it's like once you have that connection, it's real. It's not how many times you talk. It's, I got a great deal of respect for Freddie, like great deal. Tyrone, Freddie, all those guys over there is, be fun to see him.
What Freddie gave you, one thing he gave you besides performance was stability.
Yeah, Freddie.
Took the ball.
Yeah, no doubt.
How do you put a value on that?
Like I said, I mean, Freddie was just a huge part. It's like it's similar to Woody, without the injuries recently. But like Freddie's just a huge part of this whole thing. And my experience with the Brewers and feeling lucky to be part of it. Just thinking of Freddie. Just like you said, he posts every time, and the smile and the way he treated people and what he was about. I mean, to me, that's the memory.
How hard is that energy going during a season? I mean, it's a long season, but you always have smile, always seem positive, always have energy. Does that carry over?
It does carry over. He helps people get better. Takes like Adam mentioned, takes the ball every time out, and gives you a shot. Yeah.
you see Mizorowski wanting to be that guy? I mean, it takes a while to become.
Yeah, it takes a while. Yeah, you're talking about two different entities, in terms of, how they broke in the league and all that. But, Freddie's been through a lot, and he endured a lot. And the way he takes care of his family, the way he takes care of people, that's what's important to me. The game on the field, what happens tonight, we go out and we compete. That's great. But you can't capture in an interview like this all that Freddie meant to this organization, to so many people, and so many things we don't know, because he was the type of guy that would do things for people and nobody would know about it. Just really special.
That's from the other side of the buyer-seller coin. Would you, I know you'll do this, would you make a wish to your guys to go get someone like him?
That's not my job. My job isn't to push anybody. Anybody in baseball would welcome Freddy Peralta in their clubhouse. You know what I mean? Anybody that's, he's that impactful of a guy.
Would that be greater for a club like yours, where he just seems to fit back in?
Yeah, obviously, if you could put your hands on a guy like Freddie, I don't know how that works. A team that you just traded to, I don't think that works that way very often. But if in fact, like I said, nobody would turn down Freddy Peralta, and of course, everyone here would be ecstatic.
Whether it's Freddie or it's Willie down this one.
Where have you been?
Right here, right below the three that you like better. Whether it's Freddie or Willie, when somebody like that leaves, who's so important off the field as well, there's obviously the replacing them on the field. That's the front office's job. Do you try to talk to them too about, now how do we also replace some of what those guys do in the room?
Yeah, we're so connected and working together in so many areas. They know what those people mean to our club. They know what Freddie meant to the club. They know what Willie meant to the club. They know what Woody means to the club. They're aware of all that. So they're trying to look at that and say, okay, or is there other people here that step up and kind of assume that role? Yeah.
I know fans get excited for these type of pitching matchups, but do you? Ace versus Ace, especially when it's like a former Brewers ace.
Yeah. What was I supposed to ask you? Wasn't I? I was supposed to ask you something. What was it?
Why wasn't here to ask questions?
Oh, Juan was up there.
Yeah.
Man,
He's on vacation.
I struggled. He struggled. He struggled. He was nervous wreck. He didn't know how to take me. Yeah. Yeah, he did. He threw you right under the bus. Well, yeah, question, do I get excited? I hate to sound so cliche, but like every game's big, and I love it. I love, it's just separating now the love you have for a player or and just keep it at baseball and do your job and not get emotional about it.
From the outside looking in, we all see the numbers, Mizorowski, and the fastball velocity, but what is one thing that people don't see or doesn't get talked about enough that you think?
The way he competes. Yeah, the way he competes. The bigger the situation, it seems like he rises to it. That's what I've noticed this year more than ever. Last year was a little inconsistent. This year I've noticed the consistency of the bigger the situation, he steps up.
What are you guys thinking of his workload right now with the innings? I think he's like 20 innings away from matching last year.
Yeah, it's a big discussion. It's a big topic. It's all sorts of concern, planning, discussion, sidebar discussion, it's mechanics, biomechanics, everything about it, strength testing, all that. Thus the reason for the layoff. Now, how do we ramp it back up?
Just knowing all the work that he put in and how much stronger or built physically he is now, does that influence?
Factors,
I don't
yeah.
want to say like the target number, but kind of what you think.
Factors, yeah. And I always say this, when you're training to run a marathon, You don't ever go out and run the 26. You know what I mean? You never do. I mean, I don't know. I haven't run one, but I'm close to some people that have, and they usually never run the 26 before the 26.2, right? So I don't think you have to set a number, only what he did in the past. I think you can plan for more than that.
We'll continue with Pat Murphy's presser from before today's game. Interesting comparison there to running a marathon versus not running a marathon. I will just say that having trained for a marathon prior to getting hurt and then not running the marathon, my longest run that was going to be, had I not got hurt a month out, was going to be the 20-mile run. So he's right in the aspect of most people that run marathons don't run 26 miles prior to running the actual marathon. Most people will run 20 or 22 and then figure it out, on marathon day of kind of how to finish it at the end. His thoughts on this whole Freddy Peralta thing of coming back and messaging and talking and Tyrone Taylor and that whole deal. I wonder how common that is between manager and players from the aspect of we have that, that bond, that thing between us from me being the manager and him being the player where, yeah, we don't got to talk all the time. But, when we get together, hey, it's just like old times. Here we go. We just pick up right where we left off. I would think that if you had that connection with a manager or a coach on a staff, because remember, he wasn't the manager the whole time Freddy Peralta was here. That was a trader. So, but he was still on that staff and obviously was with Freddie and all of that. If you're with somebody for that long, even though you don't talk to them all that much, maybe after they change teams or you retire or they retire, whatever else, but then you see each other at an event or whatever else. Yeah, I would assume that things just pick up and you just go right back to where it was. Now, if you're here for a cup of coffee, like Maka, and he sees Fielder or Braun, is that the same type of relationship years later? I doubt it. I don't think so. But in this case, where, you have Peralta that was there forever, Woodruff that's been there forever, and those guys that have been with that same coaching staff for a long time, yeah, I would assume that's exactly it. Now, if you take it to a championship level, then that's a whole nother complete story. Then I don't care who the coach is. They're always going to have a bond. Even if those dudes really didn't like the coach, the bond's always still going to be there because he helped win you a championship. Whether you liked him or you didn't like him, that bond will always be there. And then you're always going to have the reunion celebrations and stuff like that. That's always going to be something that you're going to have. And just now crossing my brain, I just thought of something. So with the Brett Favre, Leroy Butler, Reggie White Super Bowls, they've had like reunion celebrations and stuff like that. Have they had one with it for that Rodgers team? Probably a good question to ask, James Jones and those guys of whether or not they've had, because we're at what, 15 years? So you would think that there would be some type of like big reunion party, bringing everybody back together. Maybe they're waiting because Rodgers isn't done playing yet. And once Rodgers is done, then maybe they'll have the big party celebration for 20 years, providing he's done playing at that point, like he said he's going to be. Maybe you have it then. Like the 5 years ago today, Giannis NBA championship thing, that obviously is a big deal. And I would assume that at, 20 years that there'll be a big party because those guys will all be retired by that point, and some type of big celebration. But normally when you have those reunions, whatever there was issues of, normally that gets buried, and everybody comes back and has a good time and reminisces about the season and so forth. And, you kind of go from there. All right, coming up on the other side, we'll continue to hear from Brewers manager Pat Murphy. Still to come in the show, we'll build a winner, look down at the Brewers minor league system. Also, I had a chance to talk to Corey Knable earlier on in the Wisconsin Sports Daily program, former Brewers closer with Brewer Territory. We'll play for that for you coming up as well in the 6 to 6:30 segment of the Leadoff Show. I'm Steve Sparky Pfeiffer. Thanks for tuning in. Wisconsin, the Leadoff Show from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Welcome in. It is game one tonight between the Brewers and Mets. Brewers riding a sweep of the Marlins over the weekend. Still in firm control of the division, the NL Central over the Chicago Cubs and the like. Things going well. The matchup tonight on the mound, Jacob Mizorowski against Freddy Peralta. Behind Freddy Peralta, A.J. Ewing in right field, batting leadoff. Hitting second in left field is Juan Soto. Hitting third and at third base, Bo Bichette. Hitting fourth and at shortstop, Francisco Lindor. Hitting fifth and at DH, Jorge Polanco. Hitting sixth and at first base, Jared Young. Hitting seventh and in center field, Luis Robert Jr. Hitting eighth and at second base, Brett Beatty. Hitting ninth and catching Francisco Alvarez. It's Ewing, Soto, Bichette, Lindor, Polanco, Young, Robert Jr., Beatty, and Alvarez. For your Milwaukee Brewers, behind the Miz, leading off and DHing Christian Yelich, batting second and in left field, Jackson Chourio. Hitting third and at second base, Bryce Terang. Hitting cleanup and catching, William Contreras. Garrett Mitchell roams center field and looks to stay red hot as he bats fifth. Andrew Vaughn is at first base and batting sixth. The seven-hitter Jake Bowers is in right field. The Rook, Cooper Pratt at shortstop and batting eighth. And the wily vet, I guess we could call him, Joey Ortiz is at third base and batting ninth. Yelich, Chourio, Terang, Contreras, Mitchell, Vaughn, Bowers, Pratt, and Ortiz for your Milwaukee Brewers. We listened to the first half of Pat Murphy from before the game earlier today. Here is the rest.
Where is baseball in thinking about innings year over year? There was a point where there was like a 20% or whatever the number was,
Right.
some magic number.
Right.
Where
It's kind of like the build-up, right? 75 pitches, 85, you know what I mean? And like,
where are we now? Where's the industry now on that?
I think it's very individual, very individually based, you know. And I think that everybody's kind of keeping things in mind. You know, has he had an injury history? Did he go through some setbacks? All that type of thing.
You guys sit on the idea of low stress pitches versus high stress pitches.
I mean, they got to be considered, right? It's got to be considered. But do we really know? Do we really know? Second and third, one out, they're higher stress pitches. I mean, how do we measure that?
Isn't 104 a high stress pitch every time?
What's that?
Isn't 104 a high stress pitch every time?
Maybe not for him. Probably because he reaches back, it seems like, to get it, you know?
It's going to be different for each guy, what might be best for them, but from a roster management standpoint, what it does for the rest of your staff. How do you think about the options of maybe skipping him or, taking an extra day between starts versus keep him on schedule, but maybe shorten up the starts a little bit more than you normally would?
I think we lean more towards that to keep the consistency. When you have a natural break like we just did, we kept him out of the Pittsburgh game 3. The big break kept him out of the first series. I think we take that as kind of a reset. Now, I think we have to build him back up and be sure that we do it in a mindful way.
Getting those extra 2 outs from the bullpen in each start is a little bit easier than finding a whole extra start somewhere in the future.
For sure. But as you've watched, when you have basically 5 rookie pitchers in your rotation, your bullpen's going to get taxed. So, and you're trying to win tonight because winning tonight's really important. It's really important. Nobody can get me off that concept. Not at the expense of, but we got to make some decisions. And
For this long layoff, at what point do you know if that long stretch is a good thing for him or maybe not the best?
yeah. The rest, you mean?
Yeah.
I think we always kind of assume for a pitcher, rest is better, than the opposite. I think we assume that, and we think the rest will help the body recover better. You can employ that strength, nutrition, sleep pyramid, and just kind of hopefully he gets to a better place. And I think they can test a lot of things there. And then in the meantime, he's still throwing. his throwing program, and then you can build from there. And I think that, I'm not sure that answers your question perfectly, but we're pretty certain the rest is beneficial.
You worry at all about the break and that consistency?
Yeah. Yeah, of course. You're not going to be as sharp, just like the hitters. You're not sharp. Don't see live pitching for 5 days. Some of the guys that have been on the bench, they haven't seen pitching in 8 or 9 days. Yeah, you worry about that.
Starters essentially, but do you feel like that would benefit at this point from an experienced starter?
Yeah.
That's a need.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think we have tons of needs, you know what I mean? But that's really not my deal, you know what I mean? Like, I can give opinions, but like, I think I got to worry about what we have, and you can't get divided attention away from my job. My job is to worry about what we have, and then we have very capable people in place to worry about that other things. But if somebody asks me about, hey, could you guys have a need in starting pitching, or do you have a need in the bullpen? Yes. Do you have a need here, or do you have a need there? Yes. I mean, you always think that way, especially the way I think, which is I'm always looking for the holes in the dam to try to plug up.
What next step is for Kyle Anderson?
Pitching.
In the game? Here?
Pitching. Soon. Eventually, for the Milwaukee Brewers. Yeah. I think we'll have some sides and some build-ups and some making sure that he's 100% healthy.
So we're going to go pretty far beyond the.
Maybe. Pretty far. That's kind of like soon.
Isn't it irritating?
It's irritating as hell. I wouldn't put up with it. I would not put up with it. They get on me because I say soon a lot. You know what I mean? Because I don't know the answers. So I just say soon. Figuring it's kind of funny, but they're really tired of me.
And is that based, Murph, on just being cautious, or based on anything that's happened?
Nothing that's happened. He's chomping at the bit to go. We just want to make sure to our topic, we want to make sure that in this case, because there is a little trace of something there that we didn't like. So now he's throwing the ball great, whatever. We just don't think it's with the break and then the throwing program, just like thrown back into a game. So
hold on a second. Did Pat Murphy just say there's a trace there of something that we don't like? Is that what just happened there? I'm pretty sure Pat Murphy just said there's a trace there of something that we don't like. We just want to make sure that's okay. Pat Murphy said that before. Is that something new? Because before I thought it was just it's got some irritation. It'd be all right. It's no big deal. Now Pat Murphy is saying that they did see something that might be a little bit concerning that they're keeping an eye on here before they get them going. And to Adam McKelvey's point, who was going back and forth with Murphy there, when Murphy starts talking about a couple of side sessions and building them back up and so forth, that certainly does sound like longer than just one normal IL stint. That sounds to me a lot closer to maybe middle of August, 3-4 weeks, maybe closer to that than maybe just one IL stint, the way Murphy was describing it, because he hasn't even done, it doesn't sound like he's even done a side yet to this point. Now, is that end of the world stuff for the Brewers? No, that's not end of the world stuff. But the thing that they know, and we don't, is whatever they saw that is concerning, as he put it, how concerned are they kind of with this going forward? Did they see it and they're concerned that, okay, this potentially could really screw things up here down the stretch if this rears its ugly head again, and we may have to do more than just shut them down. If it's something like that, then, does that play into the conversation about what to do at the MLB trade deadline here on August 3rd? Does that play into it? If it's something that they see, they're going to look at it again before the trade deadline, I'm sure, to see if it's gone away or whatever the issue is. If that's not a concern and you press ahead, so be it. I just think the deadline is completely different for the Milwaukee Brewers if Kyle Harrison is part of it versus if Kyle Harrison might be a part of it. I think that is the biggest thing for me right now. If you're convinced he's good and he's fine the rest of the way out and you have no concerns, you probably get really aggressive. If you're concerned about him finishing the season and this possibly coming back and being a problem, then you're probably not as aggressive as far as what you're going to do at the MLB trade deadline. So there is Pat Murphy from earlier today. Coming up, you'll hear from former Brewers closer, host on Brewer Territory, him and Kurt Hogue and JP Firerise, and he is Corey Knable. He joined me earlier today on Wisconsin Sports Daily. You'll hear that coming up in the next half hour. Plus, we'll look down at the minors and we'll build a winner, and we'll eye up the enemy because we still haven't done that either. That's all coming up straight ahead here on the Leadoff Show, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook.
counting down the minutes to the first pitch of today's game. Yes! Who's in the starting lineup?
Come on, son, you got to get out there and take the mound. It's game time.
What does the skipper have to say?
It's an attitude, like you got to be willing to defend. You got to be willing to base run, or you can't play here.
It's the leadoff show on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network.
All right, let's get to it. Got about 30 minutes left here. Brewers baseball comes up in about 40 minutes or so at American Family Field. Don't forget, Potawatomi Sportsbook. You take that shuttle to and from Brewers home games. Costs you $5 wager, same-day wager there at the game, or at the Potawatomi Sportsbook, I should say. $5 on the Miz and the crew, right? Take the Sportsbook over there, get your car parked for free in their protected from the elements garage, which is beautiful. Take that skywalk over on the 4th level. Got all kinds of great restaurants and stuff in there. If you don't want to go to the game, you just want to hang out and watch the game there and eat at the Potawatomi Sportsbook kitchen, you can do that as well. So lots of great things to do over there at the Potawatomi Sportsbook, including maybe you get a night for you and the significant other at the Potawatomi Casino Hotel and spend a couple days there. That would be fun too. You would never even have to leave. There's so much stuff to do at Potawatomi. All right. As always, we go here first.
Looking up, and it is gone.
It's almost time for the first pitch. Let's see who's in today's starting lineups. Brought to you by Lakeland University. Experience it your way. Visit lakeland.edu. It's the leadoff show on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network.
All right, let's get to it. Freddy Peralta versus Jacob Mizorowski. Peralta comes in 5-8, 4.66 ERA for the Mets. AJ Ewing leads off and in right field. And batting second, Juan Soto is in left field, hitting third, and at third base, Bo Bichette hitting fourth, and at shortstop, Francisco Lindor hitting fifth and DHing Jorge Polanco hitting sixth, and then at first base, Jared Young hitting seventh, and in center field, Luis Robert Jr., of course, former White Sox outfielder, hitting eighth, Brett Beatty at second base, and hitting ninth, the catcher, Francisco Alvarez. Ewing, Soto, Bichette, Lindor, Polanco, Young, Robert Jr., Beatty, and Alvarez. For the Brewers behind the Miz, 10-4, 1.62 ERA, 167 strikeouts. Christian Yelich leads off at the DH. Jackson Churrio's in left field and batting second. Bryce Terang's at second base and hitting third. Catching is William Contreras. In center field, Garrett Mitchell is hitting fifth, batting sixth. And then at first base, Andrew Vaughn hitting seventh. And in right field, Jake Bowers hitting eighth. And at shortstop, the rookie Cooper Pratt, and batting ninth, Joey Ortiz, who plays third. Yelich, Churrio, Terang, Contreras, Mitchell, Vaughn, Bowers, Pratt, and Ortiz is how it looks for the Brewers lineup for today. Before we get into that, I'm looking over here at the talk and text line and coming in. Do you have time to examine why Stearns struggles in New York versus Milwaukee? And that comes from Justin in North Carolina. Okay, so a couple of different things on this, right? Number one, understand that Cohen, who is the owner of the Mets, I believe is the wealthiest owner in baseball. So from his perspective, if you essentially bought time and waited for Stearns' contract to officially be done with the Brewers before you hired him or anybody else, you clearly love him. And knowing David Stearns the way I do, I promise you that David Stearns rolled into those offices for the Mets, laid out a vision, maybe a 5-year vision of how this was going to work. And I'm almost willing to guarantee you that part of that 5-year vision is about figuring out the farm system, developing the farm system into one of the best in baseball, and then building that major league club up. And I would be thinking that the owner of the New York Mets said, fine, but in the meantime, you need to try and keep this as competitive as possible, but I understand what you're saying. And if I was David Stearns, I would point to the LA Dodgers and go, hey, man, we can do the same as them. They consistently have one of the top farm systems in baseball, and they have the highest payroll in baseball, or one of the highest payrolls in baseball. There's no reason why we can't have both versus spending all this money and then not having a great farm system, we can do both. And then once we do both, we can sustain that success like the Dodgers do year in and year out and build it that way. So right now, I think a good part of what's happening is David Stearns is looking at that farm system and trying to build that back up. And in the meantime, he's trying not to potentially throw money away at the major league level. The one area to where he can't seem to get it right, where he inherited a deal here in Milwaukee. Remember, David Stearns did not hire the trader to be the manager of the Milwaukee Brewers. When David Stearns came in from the Astros, that's where he was in the front office. When he came in from Houston, he was handed the manager by Doug Melvin and by Mark Antanasio. And as the story goes at that moment in time, Mark requested, I think, maybe he told more than requested, that he would like David Stearns to give the trader a shot for 1 year. And if it doesn't work out and if they don't get along and he doesn't see it working, then fine, you could feel free to move in a different direction, but he'd like for him to at least try, see how it works. And David Stearns, I believe it was his first hire, was Matt Arnold, and bringing Matt Arnold in from the Rays to come be his right-hand guy with the Milwaukee Brewers. Now, as I've been told over the course of time, there were quite a few times in which the trader would be sitting in his office with the manager, potentially, going over different things from an on-the-field perspective, whether it be lineups or personnel or whatever the case may be. Very, very hands-on, I guess you could say, was how that relationship started from the general manager, David Stearns. The one thing that you cannot manipulate with numbers is leadership. There's no magic formula to determine if little Johnny is going to be a great leader when he grows up, or little Julie is going to be a great leader when she grows up. There's no way to know. They could go to high school and be valedictorian. Wonderful. They could go to college, finish top of the class. Great. Borderline genius. That does not mean that they are capable of leading a group of people. Or in this case, a baseball team. And I think that is the biggest issue that has occurred in New York that has really, really been the downfall of Stearns at this point. He has not been able to figure out the right coaching staff to put together to maximize the talent that he has. If you look at the Milwaukee Brewers, there's two stabilizing forces to a degree. Number one, when the trader was here, he had Derek Johnson as his pitching coach. And back then, DJ was the man. And I remember when Derek Johnson left, I was livid on the radio. Livid. I said, man, just back up the brakes truck. Give him a blank check. Let him sign whatever he wants. Put the number in. Who cares? Don't let that dude get out of here. And then he went to Cincinnati. I was even more upset. And then they bring up Chris Hook in the organization. Okay, Hookie's going to do it. Didn't know Chris Hook from Adam. I have no idea how good Chris Hook at this is, but I knew that DJ was really good, and this was a big mistake. And I was wrong. Chris Hook has been unbelievable. DJ has gone to Cincinnati and has been okay. He got a second contract. I don't know if it's been a third contract, but definitely a second contract with the Reds. So he's been fine. But Chris Hook has been probably the best pitching coach in baseball, would be my guess. Not only is Chris Hook good, but then he surrounded himself with other guys that have been really good, like Jim Henderson, and guys that can take it to the next level. Then, if you look at it from the hitting perspective for the Milwaukee Brewers, you go through the changing of hitting coaches, changing of base coaches, and all of this. And you're consistently trying to figure out what the winning formula is. Who are the guys that you want to keep long-term and be a part of it? Ricky Weeks was the guy that was decided was going to be the bench coach or whatever the fancy title they came up with him for it to be. And the thought was at that point that he was probably going to be the guy that eventually would replace Pat Murphy in however long, because this was going to be a while probably before they got this thing back on track again based on what they had coming back and so forth. And instead, Ricky Weeks, after a couple of years, gets moved within the organization, and Pat Murphy says, I don't need a bench coach. I'm good. We'll spread this out amongst everybody, the responsibilities. We don't need another person in here. And that tells you the comfort that he has with the guys that he wants, and he doesn't want chemistry screwed up or whatever the case may be moving forward, which, again, I think you can respect that at this point. You bring in Daniel Vogelbach. Daniel Vogelbach, a former Milwaukee Brewer who a lot of Brewer fans liked. I like Vogelbach. And in comes Daniel Vogelbach. And what has happened with Daniel Vogelbach? Well, Garrett Mitchell is hitting the cover off the ball. Jake Bauers, up until recently, was having pretty much a career year for himself. And he credits Vogelbach every time you talk to Jake Bauers about what changed and what the Vogelbach mindset of getting him to play the way he is. So I would say that Vogelbach hire has turned out as well. You back up and you look at the Mets. I don't know how many of those coaches necessarily could you point at and go, oh yeah, they've got player A overachieving. They've got player B overachieving. Player C's having a career year. Like all of these things that the Brewers get seemingly, what, every year you get a couple of guys that you don't expect to do much that all of a sudden overperform and have that breakout year. And sometimes Pat Murphy, guesses correctly. That is what's missing in New York. What's missing in New York is David Stearns not being able to hire the correct manager. He never had to hire a manager in Milwaukee. So nobody ever really knew whether or not he had a great eye for talent when it comes to the managerial role. And to a degree, there is kind of a talent that goes along with that to determine whether or not you have the right guy doing it. And if you make a mistake, not to hold on to it forever, but quickly fix and hire somebody else. To this point, David Stearns has struggled with that. Remember, the reports were he wanted the trader. And the trader wouldn't be called the trader had he gone to New York. We would have just been correct counsel, whatever. We knew this was going to happen. So be it. Go be with David Stearns in New York. Enjoy yourself. No rivalry with the Mets. Do your thing. But that's not what happened. He used Stearns to get more money from Chicago and then went to the Cubs and left Stearns with nothing. And instead, Stearns had to turn to the Royals to go find his next manager, which immediately sent up red flags for me of that's where you decided to go hire from. And it didn't work out, and they had to fire him this year. So David Stearns now is going to be in the position of needing to hire the right guy for that Mets job the next time around. Has to get it right the next time around to get this team back on pace. So Justin in North Carolina texting that in. I hope that kind of answers your question. Coming up next, we'll hear from Corey Knebel, former Brewers closer, host of the Brewer Territory podcast. Him and Kurt Hogue, the Brewers beat writer for the Journal Sentinel, and JP Feyereisen, former Brewers pitcher as well. We had him on earlier today, Wisconsin Sports Daily. Stay tuned for that. It's the leadoff show live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Don't forget, baseball coverage on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network is presented by Xfinity. Score the most reliable Wi-Fi, one price, 5 years guaranteed. Xfinity. Imagine that. All right, as we get ready for Brewers and Mets game 1 tonight at American Family Field, don't forget, after the last pitch, you'll make the switch to the franchise. Tim Allen and myself coming up tonight. We'll be doing the Potawatomi Sportsbook post-game show here on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network. Time for your starting lineups. Let's kind of eye up the enemy at the same time, talk about the opposing team stats against each of the starting pitchers for tonight's game. For the New York Mets, Ewing, Soto, Bichette, Lindor, Polanco, Young, Robert Jr., Beatty, and Alvarez are your starting lineup for the Mets. Against Mizorowski, Soto 0 for 1. Lindor 1 for 2 with a homer and an RBI. Polanco 0 for 1 with a strikeout. Beatty 0 for 1 as well. For the Milwaukee Brewers, it's Yelich, Churio, Terang, Contreras, Mitchell, Vaughn, Bowers, Pratt, and Ortiz. Against Freddy Peralta, Contreras 1 for 2 with a strikeout. Andrew Vaughn in his career against Freddy Peralta 4 for 8 with 2 strikeouts for Andrew Vaughn. Nobody else, of course, on the Brewers have faced Freddy Peralta to this point. Before we get to our guy, Corey Knebel, let's do this here.
The key to building a winner in baseball is a strong minor league system. Who are the names we should know? How did they play in their last game? It's time for Building a Winner. It's the leadoff show powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network.
Normally, we would look at the numbers and the stats and the minor league teams and what all is going on. But there was some fun news earlier today. I don't know if I'd call it news or drama or trolling or what exactly was going on here, but I will get you up to speed in case you haven't heard. Stephen Nesbitt, sounds like a character on Saturday Night Live. Stephen Nesbitt, who is a insider for MLB insider for The Athletic, put out this morning that the Milwaukee Brewers are doing it again. That was it. There was nothing else. That was the post. So people started immediately speculating on what Nesbitt was referring to. Then here comes Andrew Fisher, the Brewers' talented third base prospect, now in Biloxi. And he decided that he was going to follow up with his own cryptic post. And he does the whole, glasses on the yellow smiling emoji face. And then the eyeballs kind of looking like there's breaking news coming or he knows something or whatever the case may be. So once that happened, then everybody started freaking out, thinking that maybe, just maybe, Andrew Fisher was going to be the guy that may be the next in line to sign an extension. There has been nothing more posted by Stephen Nesbitt since 9 hours ago on that Brewers comment. Nothing. Nothing at all. He's not replied to anybody. He's not posted anything else. That was all there was. Now, this dude has, 19,000 followers. And again, it's with The Athletic. I honestly have no idea what's going on. I will simply say this. If they lock up Andrew Fisher at AA, that will be the first person they've extended that did not reach AAA before the extension. They'll be the first one. Then there really will be no reason as to why Jesus Madej is not getting extended. Because right now, you could argue that, hey, man, they don't extend guys so they get to AAA. Like, totally get it. Right now, Andrew Fisher is hitting .276 with 29 home runs, 67 RBIs, 9 stolen bases, .286 batting average, .432 on base, and OPS, which is on base plus slugging, of 1.106. So if there's justification to do it, his numbers justify doing it at this point if that's what they want to do at the end of the day. Definitely justifies it for sure. All right, earlier today, Corey Knebel, former Brewers closer, now host of Brewer Territory, joined me on Wisconsin Sports Daily and talked about everything concerning the Milwaukee Brewers. We started off talking about Brandon Woodruff and the heartbreaking news of Brandon Woodruff being done for the year.
It is, man. I mean, the guy's been giving it everything. I mean, for 13 years now, 12 years, he's been with the Brewers organization. I mean, it's just, he's given everything he can, and everything he's been through, his injuries, he has still come back. I mean, of course, like, I found out he's having an announcement. I mean, I'm sitting here talking with my wife and with myself. I'm like, yeah, I mean, he's been through a lot, and I understand, what's going on. And then he says, he's going to go out and get that second surgery and go. I mean, that's just the kind of man that he is too. He's just he's a fighter. He's never going to give up. He's not. I think, honestly, man, just looking at it as for him and his family, it's showing him, it's showing the whole world that you don't give up on your dreams, man. You never stop fighting. And what he's going to do, man, and he's going to go out there and he's going to get his surgery, and it's going to be a long road back, and he understands that. And I mean, yeah, it's heartbreaking news, man. It really is. I don't know what else to say about it.
I mean, this is the thing, right? So he's 33. I mean, the last time he did this, it took him almost 2 years to come back. So now you're talking like 35. And if nobody signs him this offseason, there's nothing coming in the front door during this time.
Yeah, I know. And I mean, I think that obviously the Brewers, they see what an asset he is in the clubhouse with the young guys too. I think that obviously, I'm not going to say that all of Miz's and Harrison's success is because of, but and his presence around, his veteran status, his playoff, everything that he's done for the Brewers. I think that it's huge to have him around and help out. And yeah, obviously, I'm not going to expect them to go out and give him a deal just to keep him on, but it could be something where he just finds a new home. If it's not Milwaukee, just so he can be with the team to rehab and hopefully, get a 2-year deal with maybe some kind of incentives if he does come back in 2 years. Obviously, he's going to miss all of next year. And I mean, yeah, this isn't going to be easy. But if there's one guy that I know that can do it, it's Brandon Woodruff. He's not going to give up on this, man.
Yeah, no, and I agree with you. I don't think he's going to give up on it either. Corey Knebel, former Brewers closer, Brewer Territory podcast, do a great job. Him and Kurt Hogan, JP Feyereisen. Make sure to go and download that wherever you download your favorite podcast at. Corey, let's talk a little bit about this Brewers offense right now. There was always talk coming up through the minors that Garrett Mitchell could be the player that we've been seeing here the last couple of months, but unfortunately, because of injuries the last couple of years, he hasn't been able to stay on the field to show truly what he is. And we've seen other players, getting the extensions here in the last couple of years with the Milwaukee Brewers. Mitchell has a couple of years left on his deal until he's a free agent. But Garrett Mitchell looks like a bad man right now in center field for this Milwaukee Brewers team. I don't know if it leads to an extension one way or the other, but he's playing at a whole different level right now offensively.
He is, man. He is. And I mean, yeah, Pat Murphy was the first one to say it, that once he can stay healthy, if he can get into his own, he's gonna become a special ball player. And I mean, he really has. He's obviously the year it kind of started off a little slow, and we didn't really know what it was going to look like, right? And spring training was looking good. No, he has, man. It's been very impressive watching him out in the outfield, making plays. But yeah, I mean, as of these past 2 months now, his bat has been on fire. I mean, I'm not looking at the numbers or anything, but I'm pretty sure he's leading the team in average right now. If not, he's a close second. But it's been impressive to watch him, man. And yeah, I mean, a lot of games have obviously been because of him. A couple walk-offs already, and go ahead home runs. It's really enjoying it, man. Really enjoying watching this club and watching Mitchell play right now.
Mitchell hitting almost 400 this month, hit almost 300 last month, has over a 600 slugging percentage in July, just at a completely different level right now. I want to get your thoughts on Christian Yelich as well. What do you see with Yelich and the struggles that he's had? Do you see, age catching up to him? Do you see a mechanical flaw? What do you see?
Man, this guy is obviously, he's had some of the best years in baseball, right? 18 and 19 and 21, coming back, it was after COVID year. I think that right now, he's gone through his injuries last year, basically the past few years. And now at the beginning of the year, he had another back issue. And look, it's, obviously you don't know what's going on with them. And if there's something going on, he might not even say it. I don't think that it's something that is preventing him from playing, but it could be just a little tweak of something that maybe he's not getting his timing right, and whatever it is. I mean, it's just obviously the other team is really finding the. That's right. We're just at a point in the season where what we're doing July. We still got 2 months of regular season ball left. He needs to be out of the lineup, right? He's still a huge asset to the club. I think he's still a veteran presence in the lineup, no matter what. Even if he's not hitting like the old Christian Yelich did, man, he's still gonna be that fear in the lineup from the other team, and they have to pitch to him, which could also help out, right? Garrett Mitchell, Wild Bill. So it's just baseball, man.
Okay.
That's just how it is.
So let me come at you from a different perspective on this. So obviously, he's meant everything to the Brewers while he's been here. He's been first class the whole way, whether it be helping in the community, dealing with people, in the community and the media, all that stuff. Everybody loves the dude. There's no question about that, what he's meant. But is it out of bounds then at some point, if it doesn't get better, to have a discussion with him if you're Pat Murphy to say, hey, man, it's just not coming, and we're going to have to move you down in the lineup. Instead of hitting 1, we're going to have to move you down to maybe 6 here until you could get going. Is that a fair conversation to have, or is that out of bounds because of who he is, and that means you have to kind of keep him up towards the upper part of the order?
I don't think it's necessarily of who he is. You have to keep him in a certain part of the order, but I also think that, Murphy might be looking at it as, I don't know how to be a manager. I think that's a tough conversation, but in my eyes, I'm seeing it as, well, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right?
Right.
That's the way I look at it. And Milwaukee has been a huge, they've shown this year that if it ain't broke, don't fix it. We've had a lot of conversations, right, about Hamilton, about Joey O, where they're playing, where they're hitting. And you know what? Or who was it? Rengifo, before we DFA'd him. It's obviously he was hitting almost below 200, and everyone was talking about it, right? It's time to get rid of him. Well, you know what? We're the best team in baseball right now. So why would you want to change anything up? Like, who cares what he's doing? We're winning games. And yes, I think as a manager, if you're scared to make some kind of drastic move like that, because then what if, that changes the dynamic in the clubhouse, right? That's the most important thing. When a team is rolling, you don't want to get them off that train. So, I think that's a conversation, right, that Murphy and Yelich can have. Right? They're both, look, they've known each other for a long time now, and I think that's a very professional conversation that they can have. If he needs to move down the lineup, I think that Yelich will let him know, like, yeah, I think it's a good idea, or no, I'm going to stay right here. I'm going to figure it out. I think that's a between them two for sure.
Talking with Corey Knebel, former Brewers closer. Follow him at Brewer Territory, the podcast. They do an amazing job. Him, Kurt Hogue, JP Feyereisen. Download it wherever you download your favorite podcast at. There's been a lot of talk with the MLB trade deadline coming up that the Brewers need to add maybe a third stud pitcher to go along with Harrison and Mizorowski. There's also been recent conversation about maybe they need to add a reliever to that bullpen too. Where do you sit as far as bullpen and any bullpen help that they could possibly need? Would you be down for going and getting a closer of another team to add to the back end of that bullpen with Uribe and with McGill?
I like that. There's been some talk about a reliever. I've seen the left side of the infield getting some power right in the lineup, but obviously the starter. Yeah. But I do like, obviously, getting a closer at a deadline, I think, plays a lot better than what most people think about it. Having another high-leverage bullpen arm coming in just to help out McGill and Uribe in those high-leverage spots, I think is huge. In my eyes, the teams that I was on where we went deep in the playoffs, obviously the Phillies, we had great back end bullpen arms, and we still go out there and kind of surprised everybody that we went out and got David Robertson, another high leverage arm, and he ended up pitching great for him and out of field. So I think obviously you go out and get a starter, and if you can get a bullpen arm, yeah, I mean, I don't think we're going to go out and get like an Aroldis Chapman with the Red Sox and trade with us anymore. But then I think that can really, benefit the Brewers for sure, and get us, if we can get a starter and a high leverage bullpen arm, that right there is a recipe for a disaster for the other ball clubs, man.
I totally agree with you. Corey, thanks so much for coming on, man. I really do appreciate it, and I'm sure we'll talk again here before the Brewers season's over. There he is, our guy that we've talked to a couple of times now, Corey Knable from Brewers Closer, Brewer Territory Podcast. Download it wherever you download your favorite podcast at. He was on, we did the Talk About the Crew segment at 3 o'clock earlier today. All right, don't forget, after the last pitch, you'll make the switch right here to the Potawatomi Sportsbook postgame show. Tim Allen and myself coming up tonight. After the game will be on from 9:30 to 11 o'clock or so this evening. So looking forward to talking to you. Those of you in the Dugout YouTube chat, Kevin, Joey, Charles, and Cole, thanks for chiming in. See all your comments. I do appreciate all the love. And go Brewers, go. Let's see if they can get a win tonight. That'll do it for today's leadoff show. Live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Have a good night, Wisconsin. Toodles.